Just 4 years ago, these 233 acres of rolling Pennsylvania countryside were transformed into one of the most beautiful golf courses in the entire world. The Indians who inhabited this area several hundred years ago named it Moselem, which meant trout stream. The nearby springs and creeks still abound with good-sized brook trout, although the name has been shortened to Moselem. Today, the Moselem Springs Golf Club is the scene of the 16th USGA Women's Open Golf Tournament. This is the 10th hole of the Moselem Springs Golf Club, and you're looking at the leader of the tournament, Susie Maxwell Burning, a bride of 7 weeks who has led this USGA Women's Open for 3 rounds, and at the end of 63 holes of play, she still has a 4-stroke lead. Mickey Wright has made a fine charge today, finished the front 9 in 3 under par, and has come back to within 4 strokes of the lead. She and Kathy Whitworth tied for second place right now. Carol Mann, who was just 2 strokes behind at the start of today's play, has fallen 5 strokes back. Then Marilyn Smith, Clifford Ann Creed, and she has quite a story with 4 straight birdies in a row today, and Merle Lindstrom. Right now, this little 5', 3.5" petite golf player, a pretty bride of 7 weeks, is lining up a putt on the 10th green. So let's call in Byron Nelson, who will be working with us along with Bud Palmer and Barbara Romack. Byron?
Yes, this hole, Bill, is a very tough hole, even though it's only 345 yards. The water, which you couldn't see earlier, it goes along the fairway to the left, then across in front of the green. Both these players hit the green, and she's putting uphill with a long putt, putting for a birdie 3. The mountains causing these girls a lot of problems of trying to determine the breaks.
And it's a little bit short, about 4 feet, Byron, it looks like.
Right. It's going uphill from there. As I stated earlier, as you'll see further along the broadcast today, we have a lot of mountains and hills around this course. Makes it tough to determine whether or not you're going uphill and downhill. It's tough, really tough.
And the continuous putting rule is in effect here. As a matter of fact, one of the players earlier in the tournament forgot it momentarily and had to take a 1-stroke penalty for not doing it. Now Susie Burning.
Bill, this putt will go off to her right, and of course she's been playing very deliberate. On this continuous putting rule, the only time you cannot finish your putting at once you have started is when you are in the other player's way. Then you have the right to mark and move the ball.
This is for a par 4. Susie turned the front 9 in 35, which is 1 under par. Par for 18 is 71. She holds the course record. First day shot a 69. Beautiful.
Boy, that was some putt.
What a break. And so she saves the par 4, stays 1 under par for the day, 4 over for the tournament.
Now, Bill, Merle has this putt for a birdie 3. She played a magnificent second shot, and really it's almost as close in 2 as where Susie was in 3. But very steady player, but as you see, she's 11 over par. She's 7 shots back of Susie at this time.
Merle Lindstrom was in a tie for 3rd last year in the USGA Women's Championship at Cascades Course in Hot Springs, Virginia. She's 3 over today, and this is for a birdie.
Still going uphill, Bill. Break a little to her right.
Didn't quite play enough break, and so she will tap it in here for her par 4, and she remains 11 over par for the tournament. Merle Lindstrom. Well, it was just a year ago that a little 23-year-old golfer from France captivated the women's golf world by winning the USGA Amateur Championship for women, the first amateur to do it. Here she is putting out on the 72nd hole today. If she makes this, she will have 301. And it slides just a little bit by. She finishes with a 73 today for a 302. Kathy Lacoste, the daughter of the great Wimbledon singles champion René Lacoste of France. And she finishes the tournament with a score of 302. Kathy Lacoste, the defending champion, will not win it 2 years in a row. We'll be back with the final round of the 1968 United States Women's Open Golf Championship in just a moment. I'm Bill Fleming, along with Byron Nelson, Bud Palmer, and Barbara Romack. We'll be bringing you this dramatic story of the 16th USGA Women's Open Championship today. And Byron, I know that this Pennsylvania Dutch area of this part of the country really holds a soft spot in your heart.
It certainly does, Bill, because I got my start in golf right here. The really start that I made in big-time pro golf when I won the Open and the Masters when I was pro here at the Reading Country Club. And this, speaking of clubs in this area, Bill, this golf course that we're playing here, that women are playing, is a wonderful golf course. A lot of terrain to it, and a lot of rolling, undulation, and the greens are large. The girls are having a lot of trouble putting the greens because the mountains in the background make you think you're going uphill when you're actually going downhill. There's a lot of bunkers, and it is really a magnificent golf course, though, and a great tournament to a great course for these girls to be playing this championship on.
This course was designed by former professional great George Fazio, and as you can see, he used the natural terrain. As a matter of fact, the back nine is carved right out of the side of a mountain. You see the water running through there. That's Moselem Creek, which abounds with brook trout and other fish. And we're covering the 16th, 17th, and 18th holes, all par fours. And standing by to cover 16 and part of 17 is Bud Palmer.
Right you are, Bill. It's my pleasure to work with Barbara Romack right here, who's a former U.S. amateur champion, a very fine professional golfer. It's my pleasure to be holding on to her because if I don't, she might drop off the tower.
We don't have seat belts up here, Bud.
Now, Barbara, what about this 16th?
The 16th hole here is a par 4, 367-yard hole. The ideal place to drive from the tee, which is elevated, is to the left center of the fairway. And once the golfers do this, you'll get a nice roll down to the valley, and we'll leave them with a fairly short second shot. With the wind behind them today, the hole is playing quite shorter than usual, and we should see a lot of birdies here, Bud.
In fact, we've seen quite a few, and there's the pin as they're putting on it right now. It looks like Gerda Whalen who's putting. We'll also be handling the 17th, too, which is a 400-yard par 4, dog leg to the left, as you can see from the tee, which is the lower right-hand side of your screen. On the left side are trees, and it drops off, and that's really Deadsville. On the right, you can see traps, so you ought to keep it right of center. And the second shot will be handled by Byron Nelson and Bill Fleming. So, gentlemen, why don't you take over?
Well, that first trap is 200 yards out from the pin, and it's all uphill, and it offers quite an illusion to the golfer. It's a lot farther, Byron, than it looks, and it's been playing as the toughest hole in the golf course.
It certainly is, because it's directly uphill, and as you see, the pin is cut exactly in the center forepart of the green. It's 54 feet from front of the green, and anytime you're shooting uphill, and of course you're playing against the wind also there today, you may not feel it because you're playing out of the valley up to this green. You can see the two large bunkers guarding this green left and right, and as Bud Palmer said, you don't want to go to the left off of the second shot either. If you go to the left, you go way down the hill. So you must stay up on the upper part of this green and upper part of this fairway if you expect to make a 4 or a 3. I have not. Now then, as you can see, the 18th hole, 340 yards as you see on the screen there, but that's from the front tee. We're playing 3 tees today, or then there are 3 tees on this hole, and today we're playing the intermediate tee, which is playing 378 yards. You drive off from top of a hill down into a valley, and you can see the water that goes across the fairway here. Down into, you see the water there right in the middle of the screen, and then the pin right square in the middle of the green over this big yawning trap. Now we're going to the 16th tee.
On the 16th, we have the twosome coming down here of Clifford Ann Creed and Judy Tormolumke Rankin. This, as we mentioned, is a 367-yard par 4, and from the tee, as we're watching Clifford Ann Creed teeing off here, the big traps yawn to your right, but the girls with the wind behind them have really been belting the ball out 250 yards. And it's off to the left, and you can hear Clifford Ann trying to tell that ball to go. We don't exactly... Do you see where that came down, Barbara, or not?
No, I can't. The sun was in my eyes there, Bud. But she's not in too bad shape.
Now we have Judy Tormolumke Rankin. And she is 2 over for this round, 14 over for the tournament.
No, come back.
Come back. That's...
Oh! She's left, too.
They're both to the left, staying away from those yawning traps on the right. And from Moselem Springs Golf Club, it's the 16th annual U.S. Women's Open Golf Championship, and we'll be back in just a moment.